going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.
Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Dave Coldwell joins me. Dave, thanks very much for giving me some of your time. How's things?
Good, mate. Had a good day at Wembley yesterday, so all good. All good. Tired.
I was going to say you were too busy watching United being successful to watch Jake and Tommy at the time, but I know obviously you've watched it today.
Yeah.
We're going to jump straight in, just kind of your initial thoughts, Dave, on what we saw last night.
Do you know what? I've just watched it. It's already on YouTube. Result. So I've just watched it, and I thought it was all right. You know what it is? It is what you expect it to be with two novices. You can go to plenty of small old boxing shows, amateur club nights, see a couple of novices go at it, and there's a lot of holdings, a lot of grabbing, snatching the punches, feeling the way into it and being a little bit nervous and edgy. And that's what you got, and that's what you kind of would get off a novice pro, and in Jake Paul, who's a YouTuber that's had a few fights against non-boxers, but they've got the personality that carried it off, so it sold out, in the venue. It's done millions of views out there, and people that didn't watch it were talking about it. So, fair play to them. I said they've made an absolute fortune at novice level.
Yeah, before we talk about kind of the actual fight itself, do you think the whole couple of years that encapsulates Jake Paul and Tommy Fury's rivalry, and perhaps if it goes beyond here, we don't know, but do you think it's kind of a bit of a wake-up call to other boxers? Okay, not everyone has the pull of Jake Paul, being able to just pull them fans in from kind of his previous endeavours, but do you think it's a bit of a wake-up call? Get with the times and kind of be a bit different, show your personality, use different methods of dragging people in?
Well, to be fair, promoters have been saying this for quite a long time. I mean, I've said it with my fighters for a long time. If you haven't got, not that you haven't got a personality, but if you don't show your personality, people aren't going to be as engaged with you. Whether they like you or not, if they're talking about you, then there's going to be some sort of interest and value in them watching the fight or knowing, wanting to keep tabs on your career. But if they don't care, then you're going to struggle to make the big money. And that's been how it's always been. It's why big ticket sellers, get more opportunities or make more money or get brought back, rather than somebody who might be actually better than them, but they've not got a big fan base and they kind of struggle to be seen and be heard. And, you can only tell fighters, in your stable, you can only tell fighters, throughout the sport, that they need to kind of do a little bit more in terms of self-promotion and just being people aware about themselves and getting people to care about them. And if they don't choose to do it, then they're going to get left behind. And some fighters just, they're not comfortable with that. And some fighters are still like living in the past. At the end of the day, you've got to move with the times. And if you don't move with the times, then although you might not agree with it, you might not like it, people say it's selling out or what they want to do. Well, fair enough. That's. But then you can't complain and you can't really begrudge somebody like a Tommy Fury, like a Jake Paul, especially because what you look at the levels that he's done, KSI and other people like that. You can't really begrudge them for the money that they're making. Because they've got that attraction. The reason why somebody sells out arena and he's top of the bill, and there might be world title fight on the undercard of somebody selling out that arena, is because they're the draw, they're the attraction. And you can't begrudge them for it. You can't sit there and slag them off and say shit, they're this or that and other. Well, maybe so. And I'm not saying that actual ability wise they're much cop. I'm saying the novices, that's what they were and that's what they looked like when you watched it. But their fans, maybe us as boxing people, will tune in as it should be better, this is it. But their fans don't care whether they can fight or not. I guarantee you, if Jake Paul wanted to take up tennis and he went and hired out Wimbledon and said, I'm going to play a tennis match at Wimbledon, I guarantee you he sells out centre court. that's his pull. That's his pull. That's his draw. Right now, he's chosen to go into boxing. He's, I don't know how often he trains or whatever, but he's giving a lot to boxing because a lot of himself to boxing, with his time, be it his efforts, whatever, in order to improve. And he's cracked it. Now, the problem that I have with these kind of guys is when they start calling out your Canelos and people like that, and you top. Let's keep it realistic. And realistically, what we saw the other night, last night, was two novices having a fight, but they're extremely, extremely popular. It's like when you go to an amateur show. I've been at amateur shows where there's quality kids that box early on at night, really good, top fundamentals, really good technically, might be good knockouts, whatever like that. And then all of a sudden later on at night, this kid comes in, there's a massive roar, he's sold loads and loads of tickets, he's really popular, gets in there just swinging about, and it's a terrible, technically, in technical terms, it's a terrible fight. But the atmosphere and everything were there is because of his fan base. It's because people are there to see him box. It's always been like, it's just that this is on a massive level.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And I think it is one of them where I suppose we kind of have to take it at face value and kind of separate it, I guess, as two sports. I know, obviously, like you said, it was two fairly novices, especially from kind of Jake's side. But were you surprised by Jake's ability? I think he first set his eyes on boxing maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Was you surprised by bits of his ability?
I don't know about surprised, but I thought he was decent. I mean, you can't say surprised because this kid's up, and again, I'll say to you, in every gym in this country and probably around the world, but every gym in this country, you get a kid or a fella that's a keep fit or comes in from, and if they're consistent with what they're being coached, they get better. And then if you put them in with somebody that's similar level to them, then it makes a competitive fight, and you'll see, that's what we got last night. It wasn't like one was in against somebody that was way, way better than the other. It was a competitive fight. So that tells you that Tommy Fury and Jake Paul are at a similar sort of level, and the work that Jake Paul's done in the time that he's been in boxing is made it work for himself. Tommy Fury, for all, he's been around boxing years and years, because of his brother, because of his family, because of his dad or whatever, been around in the gyms. I don't know, but there's that's what I'm hearing. So he's not perhaps giving himself to it because he's made his money doing other things. You can't fault him for that. If you, at the end of the day, what's easier? Making money, getting on Love Island and being a bit of a celebrity, a bit, getting paid for appearances and stuff like that, or getting punched in the face. And I have got a lot of respect for him, because I can't imagine the pressure that kid's under, having a brother that's Tyson Fury and having his dad. They're such big characters, such big personalities. And when I see, I don't know, I've never met him, but when I see Tommy Fury speak, he just seems like a normal kid. He's not really out there. He's not got that massive personality. So I would imagine he felt a lot of pressure just going through his career when he's boxing, his previous 8 fights, whatever it is, had, signing a deal with Frank Warren. And that's a lot of pressure because you're Tyson Fury's brother. And then when the build-up is for this fight, there's a lot of pressure on him there, a lot of nerves on him there. So I thought he handled it really, really well. And, Jake Paul, again, just because he's very, very brash and very, very mouthy and says all these sort of things, when push comes to shove and you realise that the guy in front of you is an actual fighter, has some experience in that, and is really, really up for knocking you spark out, he's going to have them nerves. He knows the pressure of the world's on him. So both of them had a lot of pressure on him, and they both handled it really well. How many times have we seen fighters, and good fighters or experienced fighters, they get the big title shot and they freeze? It happens a lot. It's human nature. It's part of being a human being. Emotions can sometimes control you. So I thought both of them kind of handled it really well. Was it the best technical fight I've ever seen? No. Was it sometimes scrappy? Yeah, but it's just like what you see as two novices going at each other, and it was good at their level.
Yeah. I mean, there were times obviously where Tommy opened up a little bit and threw in combinations.
Yeah.
Do you think it was quite visible though that he perhaps wasn't committed to taking any unnecessary risk? Because obviously, to get the knockout to stop someone to land that big punch, you've got to take a risk of your own. So was it a bit visible that he was thinking nothing unnecessary? I can win this by using my boxing and opening up kind of every now and then.
I think he probably. I mean, I don't know what their ideas were, what they were saying. I don't know, but you would think that if you've got boxing experience and you're in with somebody that's not really got boxing experience but looks like he can dig a little bit, you don't want to go to their level and give them more opportunities. So yeah, he was landing some good shots and then grabbing hold, shutting down his attack, which is what you see, in with more experienced fighters. You do. His brother will do that. His brother will land a couple of shots and grab hold and tie, smother him and stop him from working. It's part of boxing. Um, I think he did use his brain a little bit in there, but also some it might have been because he was edgy and very, apprehensive about getting it. Might have felt, a left hook off of Jake Paul early on and thought this kid can punch a little bit. But yeah, he used his boxing experience probably.
Do you think it does a lot for, or does anything for his actual development going forward? Like in a boxing sense?
Just a box tick topping a bill with a massive eyes, topping a massive event like that. Yeah, that'll make it. Does it make him all of a sudden a better prospect than everybody else out there? No, it doesn't. It adds to him part of the experience. It's part of his development. It's part of the process. But in one breath he's saying, "Oh, he wants to be world champion." Next minute he's talking about KSI or whatever, or people like that. If you wanted to be, if you wanted to develop and turn into a world champion contender, etc., or win a British title or whatever, stick to boxing. Other prospects, other fighters that are going to build you up, like other fighters would do in your stable, or develop towards championship class. But if you think, I don't think I'm actually going to be good enough to get to that level, I want to earn as much money as I can, then do the celebrity route, do the KSI, do all that sort of route. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to say we're kind of in that place now where if you're Tommy, I know there was kind of talk of a rematch, and I'm sure they'll probably go back and forth a little bit over the next month or so. But I suppose we're in that place now where if he's talking about a British title, we know that's obviously not going to be next. Got to build towards that. But then going from this massive high in Riyadh to you will be fighting against someone of the journeyman British gatekeeper level back on somebody's undercard. So is Tommy in a bit of a strange situation now?
It's ultimately about what he wants to do, isn't it? Because you have to adapt your mindset to what needs to be done for the goal that you want to chase. If it is, listen, I just want to make as much money as I can out of this game. I know I'm not going to be my brother. I'm never going to become world champion. So what's the best route? Okay, chase the celebrity fights, chase the high profile contests like that. Like I said, against your other YouTubers, your KSIs and people like that. But if he wants to, right, okay, I've had a taste of this limelight, and I'd like to win a real belt, and I'd like to progress my boxing career and just see how far I can go. Then he kind of has to forget the celebrity lifestyle and going here and there and everything, and kind of think, right, I need to dedicate the next couple of years purely boxing, training, getting the right fights that get me up there. He's had 8 journeyman fights. He's had the Jake Paul fight. Is he 9-0? I think he's 9-0. So he's had that's like your embryonic stage of your career. Now you need to start fighting not your journeyman that just come to survive. Just now start fighting guys that are going to give him problems, and so he can adapt. All the fellow prospects at 9-0, maybe that's an option for him as well. But it all depends on what he wants to do. I mean, listen, he's with Frank Warren and he's got BT behind him as well, so he can kind of pretty much do whatever he wants to do. He's just got to make that choice and then stay in that lane and go for it, really. Because if he wants to be a legitimate champion in the pro boxing world, then it kind of needs to forget about the celebrity style, the celebrity line, and get into the boxing lane.
Yeah. I know he was kind of crying and emotional after the fight in that interview. He will cop a little bit of flack for that. When you look at the burden that Jake Paul's probably been for Tommy over the last 2 years, it's just been like a massive cloud. He's been ridiculed left, right, and centre. Can you understand just the little outbreak there, even if it is in his world title?
Yeah, I can, because listen, you get kids crying when they've won an area title. You do. You get kids crying because that's what it means to him. Because if I can imagine, listen, even since he's turned pro, he's been the one that he's a fury, but nobody's ever said, "Oh, he's gonna be world champion." His brother's world champion. He's got a family that's steeped in boxing tradition. So, but nobody's ever spoken about him as though he's going to achieve anything. Not really. And so it's like a kid that I can associate it, obviously in small terms, but it's like a kid that doesn't believe in himself or doesn't have anybody backing him. And then he wins an area title or he wins an English title, and it's a minor title, and but it means the world to you. So are you proud of yourself? Yeah. Does it mean a lot to you? Yeah. And why shouldn't it? Because at the end of the day, it's not like they went in there and had a little bit. Listen, people are watching these exhibitions from former legends, and the trash, and they're just moving around and it looks slow motion. These two novice boxers, Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, went in there and let their hands go and gave it a go. Whatever you want to say about the level of it, they give it absolutely everything. And at the end of it, I was watching, I thought, you know what? Fair play to him. Fair play to him. So he got emotional at the end because he came through all that pressure cooker and got the win. So yeah, it's a bit of a banter when I've seen a meme where it's Rocky, with his speech afterwards, and it's like that. But for him, I get it. I understand that because if you're not that superstar prospect, when you look at look at the other end of the scale. I remember when Naz won his world title against Steve Robinson, and because Naz always thought, I'm going to win multi world titles, different weights. When he boxed brilliant in Cardiff, in Robinson's hometown. And watched the interview when he won the world title. It meant nothing to him. I remember thinking, fucking hell, man, you just won world title. Have a bit of emotion about it. But it didn't mean anything to him. Now you see on the other end of the scale, Tommy Fury's won an 8-rounder. Get back that belt they give him. But he won an 8-rounder in a massive high-profile fight, and he got emotional about it. That shows you it meant to it. I'd rather see somebody showing emotion and being overjoyed at what they've just achieved than somebody not give a toss. I mean, that's just my preference. And of course, you're going to get stick, but I ain't got a problem with that.
I'm going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.